question is targeted to Nick specifically. You mentioned a lot about listening in your speech, and I think that's great. But this question is actually twofold, so bear with me. Wouldn't you think that a lot of other qualities would come as president instead of just listening? For example, experience, maturity. The second part, also, maybe this is just me, but I've noticed a trend every year that a grade level is represented by their president. For example, we call it Abby's year. For example, Elliot's year, Joseph's year, Marcel's year. Do you think that will result in any sort of conflicts if you get elected as president, that we are represented as Nick's year, as your year when you're not in our grade level? And how do you plan to resolve that kind of conflict?
That was a long question. As for experience, I do have a great deal of experience from leading. Is that what you wanted to ask? Like, what examples of my experience? I do have a great deal of experience, especially when it comes to extracurricular things. I did lead a lot of outreaches and very well involved in the church youth ministry. And in those particular activities, you could kind of trace some similarities to leading in the student council. For example, you'd have to organize. There are positions of power. If you had an idea, you would propose it, and slowly it'll be actually transformed into something you can see. Your second question was, what was it again?
Do you think it will result to any conflict if we get down in history as next year as someone who's not in our grade level, and how do you plan to resolve that kind of conflict?
I do actually believe in, for some of the 12th graders, future 12th graders next year, there will be some conflict. There will be, there's always conflict. I mean, even if you were an 11th grader right now, and there will be people who dislike you and do not agree with your ideas. As for how I would resolve those conflicts, it comes down to my speech. I will keep an open ear. I will listen to all of you, regardless of anything. And I will listen to your feedback, and I will continue to be the best that I can if I do become president. Did that answer your question? Thank you.
Candidates, all of you have mentioned, and every single year people have mentioned keeping an open ear to the student body. Why haven't this been effective, or like why haven't we seen concrete proof of this being implemented? And why exactly is it so important to listen to everyone, even people who might not really understand how the student council work, or like people who might not understand like the bureaucracy and how hard it is to actually get things done in student council? Do you think that it's why is this such an important thing to have to listen to the student body, even though they might not have the same experience as perhaps listening to student council leaders, student council members, or people who have actually had experience in the student council?
Can we get your question right? Your question is, why is it so important that the student council listens to people, and why hasn't it been effective? Okay. So the student council hasn't maybe been effective with listening to people because oftentimes it might be hard to go through all the information, right? And also, maybe not everybody's input is, as you said, easy to listen to because they don't understand the bureaucracy that goes on through the student council. But what I also think is a problem is that there's not enough transparency about this communication. People don't really understand that there is this communication system in place. Though people may start off saying in the beginning of the year, they don't advertise it or make it clear. I think this is something we can seek to increase by having maybe a physical form, a physical place where they can put it. And if they don't want the physical place, it's also, we can do this through social media. But I think that answered your question.
Okay, I think that one of the things that I would like to propose is the surveys, and I've actually haven't seen this been implemented before, and I think that these surveys would be a good idea because then all of your voices would be heard, and these would be only at the end of every term, so it's not a hassle, and it would be something that is quite simple to do, and we can easily just hear from you, and you would also feel as if your voices are being heard, and the student council would not just be some elite organization. And I can also go talk about another idea that I would like to implement, which is through the sending of text messages, WhatsApp messages, creating a group, not for spam purposes, but creating a group so that we can send the events that are happening throughout the week to the members, so that they can actually feel more connected to the exec committee, and also can advertise those events and ask others to participate too.
Yeah, Sean, you're absolutely right. There's not that much transparency. Although we do try to promote it, it's really something in a lot of cases that is inevitable. The world will never be transparent. We do have biases and different opinions. Something I would actually like to propose is to assign delegates to each class or each grade. That will be some sort of medium between the student council and the student body. So I think that's it.
To start off, I'd like, as a student council member, I've seen how inside the committee, inside the student council organization itself, we try to get your inputs and we try to make them happen. But I feel like, as reiterated by some of the candidates here, there's not enough communication within this, with the student body. So we're doing all of these nice things, we're doing great and everything, but we don't communicate what we're doing to the student body, so they are not aware of what's happening. For instance, we have stand-up meetings in our student council where representatives from the grade levels in the student council will meet and talk about what their grade is saying about the student council and things like that, but most of you probably don't know that if you're not in the student council. So I think when becoming president, I think it's really important to update people about what's going on, because as much as you can do a lot of things, if people don't know about it, they are going to assume that it's not happening. And so by, for example, publishing voice articles or updating a bulletin board or having chapels, I believe it will be more effective to communicate to other people. And so I believe that, and secondly, I believe listening to the student body's opinions are important and are valuable, because the student body is the reason why the student council exists in the first place. And although they might not understand the bureaucracy and everything within the student council, I believe they are the voices and they are the heart of the student council. And so if we don't hear from them, we can't really move forward and adapt to suit the needs of the student body, which is continually changing.